In one of the previous videos, we looked at configuring service chaining with Viptela. In this video, we will take it a step further and configure multiple service chaining. Attached is the topology we will be using for this demo. We have two VHs, VH1 and VH2, and by default, traffic directly flows between them. We have one firewall connected to VH3 and another connected to VH4. Now we'll create a multi-service chain policy and force the traffic between VH1 and VH2 to first go through the firewall 1 connected to VH3 and then to firewall 2 connected to VH4 and finally to its destination VH2. Similarly, for the return traffic from VH2 will first hit the firewall connected at VH4 and then to the firewall connected at VH3 and then finally reach to its destination in VH1. To save time, I've already configured the firewalls to allow communication, and in this video we'll just focus on creating the policy. So let's begin by checking our existing communication. So let's go to networks. Let's go to VH1. Let's go to troubleshooting, to a trace route. So let's trace route to a destination on VH2. And as you can see, the traffic directly flows from VH1 and VH2. Similarly, let's check the return traffic as well. And the return traffic also flows directly between the VHs. So let's go to templates. So I have two templates already attached to VH3 and VH4, which are connected to the firewalls. So let's look at the template attached to VH3. Let's go to service VPN and let's check the VPN template. Let's go to service, and as you can see that I have already defined two services for connecting to the firewalls which are connected to VH3. Similarly, let's go and check our template for VH4. And here again, let's check our VPN template. And within the VPN template, if you look at this, I've already defined the services that are connected to the firewall 2, which is net service 3 and net service 4. So let's now go to policies. And let's add our policy. We don't need to define any application list. So let's click next. And here let's define our custom control policy. Let's call this policy site 1 to site 2 via firewall 1. Let's add a sequence, it's a route policy, and let's add our first rule. Here I'm going to match on site 2, destination of site 2, and on the actions I'm going to click accept and set the service to net service 1. Service VPN of 11, encapsulation IPsec. Let's hit save and change the default action to accept and save our policy. So let's go and create another policy, and this time it would be from site 3 to go to site 2 via firewall 2. Let's add a sequence, and here again I'm going to match on site 2, and here on the actions I'm going to set the service to net service 3, which is connected to VH4, the service VPN of 11 and encapsulation of IPsec. Let's save and change the default action to accept. Save a policy, and that's our control policies for the forward traffic from VH1 to VH2. Let's also create another control policy for the return traffic. So let's call this from site 2 to site 1 via firewall 2. Let's add a rule, and this time match on site 1, and then in the Actions tab, set the service to net service 4, which is a service defined on VH4 connecting to the firewall, the service VPN of 11, and encapsulation IPsec. Let's save and change the default action to accept. Save a policy. Similarly, let's add a final control policy. Let's call this site 4 to site 1 via firewall 1. So let's add a role, again match on site 1, and then set our action and set the service to net service 2, service VPN 11, and encapsulation as IPsec. Let's save and change our default action to accept. So we have required all the 4 control policies. So let's click next. We don't need to define any application aware routing, so we'll click next, and let's call the policy here. We are assembling the policy. Let's call it multi-service chain. And let's add our site lists. So let's do it sequentially. So let's look at from the first control policy that we defined, which was from site 1 to site 2, which is for firewall 1, and this has to be applied as an outbound policy to site 1. Let's click add. Then the traffic moves from site 3 to site 2 via firewall 2. So let's add a site list, and this time it should be an outbound site list for site 3. So those are the control policies for the forward traffic. For the return traffic, it has to be from site 2 to site 1 via firewall 2, and this has to be applied as an outbound policy on site 2. And then the final one, which is from site 4 to site 1 via firewall 1, it's an outbound policy on site 4. So let's review our policy. So if you look at the policies, it's the control policy site 1 to site 2 via firewall 1. It's matching on site ID 2 and setting the service net service 1, which is the firewall 1. And then it goes from site 3 to site 2 via firewall 2. It's being matching on again site ID 2 and setting the net service as 3. Similarly, for the return traffic, and this traffic comes from site 2 to site 1, I'm matching on site ID 1 and then setting the service on net service 4, which is the firewall connected to VH4. And then from site 4, it goes to site 1 via the firewall connected to VH3. And this is the application control policies which have been applied. Let's save, and then let's activate our policy. Yeah, so policies has been successfully pushed. So let's go to network. Let's go to VH1. And let's go to troubleshooting and do a trace route to a destination in VH2. And now you can see that the traffic actually flows from VH1 to firewall 1 to firewall 2 and then comes back to VH2. Similarly, let's look at the return traffic as well from VH2 to a destination at VH1. And there you go. From VH2, it goes and hits the firewall, which is connected to VH4, and then to VH3, and then comes back to VH1. Thus, you can see how simple it is to create complex service chaining policies using the centralized policy framework in Viptela. That's it for this video, and thanks for watching.